Good afternoon, folks. Snapzilla Gorilla, aka The Definition, coming at y'all with a short video. So today I wanted to talk about sovereignty and what it truly is and what it truly means, and some of the novel symbolism behind some of the things people call sovereignty. Okay, first I'm gonna start with a story. Back in 2005, when I got out of the Army, I linked up with this group of revolutionary spoken word artists that talked a lot about, the injustices done by the government, in general, and particularly toward people of color, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans and others, and people all across the land, all across the world. Anyway, so we was rolling, we built with each other to a certain degree. At some point I stopped foxing with him because I started seeing certain things, and then I got with this girl who took a lot of my time. But anyway, we went to this sovereign land known as Redwind. It was a Native American owned sovereign land. It wasn't like a reservation. No, this was a completely separate country within a country, technically. That's what this was. You got to the gate and it said, this country's law, the United States laws do not apply here, this, that, and the third. So you were truly entering truly sovereign land, okay? And we spent a few days there. There were other groups there as well, other so-called black revolutionary groups like some of the new Black Panthers, the Black Riders, Huey P. Newton Jr. was there, and others. And we all built there, did sweat lodges, we cooked outside, we slept outside. We did fire drills, or firearm drills, and different little fighting drills, and it was just fun. We irrigated. Man, I got up every morning and chopped wood for breakfast. I got out there just slamming that wood. It was great. It felt great. There was a lot of clean air. It was in nature. We slept outside in tents. There was an outhouse. But, for the most part, we was roughing it. You know what I mean? And then they had this kitchen area outside with several fire pits. It was just beautiful. We built it. You just there with a bunch of like-minded people who were enjoying a true sense of freedom, No cell phones. There were no cell phones allowed there. There were, but we had to take the batteries out. That's when you could take the batteries out of the cell phones. Can't do it no more. So anyway, we take the cell phones out, batteries out of the cell phones. We couldn't call anybody. There was no service. Like, it was just, we were there just to build, be a community, you know what I mean? And talk about things that we wanted for our future, for the future of our future children, because none of us had kids yet, for the most part, except for the one dude. Anyway, it was a lovely time. It was great. And I was like, man, I would love to do this more often. So anyway, we left. We had to get back to our world. We had to get back to our lives. In the United Snakes. So we did that. And then sometime down the road, the hosts were Native Americans. So I forgot to tell you that part. So the owners of that land, of that sovereign country, were Native Americans, okay? And at some point after that, they had the opportunity to build and run a casino in another state. So they did that. But before they left, they tried to get us to, those of us who lived in LA, because some of these people came from different states, you know what I mean? But those of us, particularly in our group, were offered the opportunity to stay on their land and to run their land and build on their land, build a community on their land. Like, they just said, you guys can have it. You can do what you got to do with it. It's still ours, but you guys can use it as your own. Like, this is truly sovereign land. You guys should take advantage of it. Of course, we didn't do it because our minds were not there 100%. Okay, none of us had that in our mind, except for one chick. Now, this was a woman that I had some romantic interest in, you know what I mean? We got hot and heavy at some point. We actually met there, like formally met there, and we kind of got close that weekend. For those few days, we got close, and we built a friendship and a bond and almost a romantic relationship. But I was on some player shit, like real spit. I was still out there getting it in. I was dipping and dabbing all over the place. I just had women, and she understood that, but she couldn't rock with me in that regard because of that. She's not that type of woman, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so she was actually down. She was actually out there, trying to make it happen, but no one wanted to join her. So it kind of went to the wayside. The opportunity was lost. At any rate, I didn't want to join her, and I was even single at the time. I didn't want to join her because she was a little off to me. She was a little off. She kind of turned me off. She was a little off. And I did not want to be out there. No one else wanted to join me. I was ready and willing, but I was like, nah, not with her. Not just with her. I had to have other people in on it, not just us two. So anyway, that didn't happen. Okay. And then a little bit later on down the road, we started having children. Okay. I was probably the third to have more children. The one dude that did have a child, he had a child with a woman who ended up moving to Texas with their son, because this dude was off his rocker, apparently. I found out later. So he ended up getting with another chick and started having children with her. Then my best friends started having children, and eventually I started having children. And my best friend had 2 children before I had my first, and he was on his way with a third. He was about to have a third child. And he was telling me that for that third child, he was gonna have a home birth. And I was like, man, that's a beautiful thing. So he's gonna have a home birth, and then he was not going to get birth certificates and social security card for his children. And he, for his newborn child, new child coming up. And he was trying to convince me to do the same thing with my firstborn child. I was like, you know what? That really doesn't make sense right now. I mean, what? It's a novel idea. Like, what's the point? Birth certificates are deeds of ownership of the child, and you're signing your child's life over to the government, blah blah blah. I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that's true. I know that. Social security card is a serial number, and it's a bond to your. I get it. But my thing is, okay, so the government won't own your child because it doesn't have a social security card and a birth certificate, but you're still you're not ready for that type of freedom yet. You don't. I mean, that would be the only form of freedom that you would have. Your children would be undocumented, of course. They wouldn't be in the system, of course, legally or officially. But don't think that if you get on the government's radar, they will not find out that you have children. And then on top of that, once they find out and they want to fuck with you, they can take your children. They can take your children from you, and you will not have any record that child was born officially. You would have an undocumented child that they can snatch out of your arms and do whatever they want with it. And then what? You're not going to have any record or any proof that you even had a child that had that child. So what would be the point? You have no real freedom. Like, listen, this is my thing. And this is what I told the dude I was telling you guys about, whose wife or whose baby mama took their child to Texas. He got with the other girl, got her pregnant, and had children with her. He didn't have birth certificates, social security cards for those children, and he ended up breaking up, or they ended up breaking up too. And he's really a piece of shit. He really turned out to be a piece of shit that I saw coming from a mile away. He was the so-called leader of the group that I was with, but he was no true leader at any rate. So dude's a piece of shit, not a provider for his family. He just talks a good game. He's a hustler, you know what I mean? He's good with his mouthpiece, but he doesn't really provide anything else of substance. So, he was writing these books that were really done horribly, and it was like, yes, at some point he was selling those books, and he was doing seminars, he was He stopped doing spoken word, started doing what they call those things, lectures and at different colleges and things like that. And that's actually how he got with this girl. Anyway, so she's talking with me and my wife about it, and she was talking about how she regret not getting birth certificates and Social Security card for her children, because when it came time for them to go to school, she was not able and ready financially to put her children, or to homeschool the children. So she had to work, because the dude was not working and he wasn't bringing in enough money with his books and his seminars and his lectures. So she had to get 2 jobs, and he didn't want to stay home and homeschool the kids. So guess what she ended up having to do? Getting some paperwork on her children. She had to put her children in the system so that they can go to school and get some type of learning cracking, you know what I mean? At Marcus Garvey Private School. So, you know, that's a perfect example of what I was talking about. So, and that's what my best friend ended up having to do with his 2 children. And the 2 children who he did not get Social Security cards and birth certificates for are now going to school in the public school system. And in order for that to have happened, he had to get paperwork in numbers for his children. And this is the point. This is why I bring this up, because I'm hearing more and more people talking about not getting birth certificates for your children, not getting Social Security cards for your children. Yes, I understand it's ownership, just like when you get a marriage license, you're telling the state that they can rule over your affairs if something were to happen between you two. You guys didn't want to be together no more. You're giving the government permission to decide what to do with your relationship and any holdings that you have, anything that you own. Listen, this is the point. Yes, it's a novel idea. Okay, don't get birth certificates, don't get Social Security card, your children won't be owned. That's the extent of what you're doing for those children. Because guess what? Unless you're off the grid, unless you're completely self-sufficient, unless you do not depend on the government for nada in regards to your children, you're shooting yourself in the foot. If you're not prepared to be off grid, if you're not prepared to feed your children, clothe your children, educate your children without any government involvement whatsoever, and 90% of us are not, then what you have done is gave yourself more of a pain in the ass. Now you got to go to this government building, that government building. Oh, I forgot to get birth certificate for my children. And then there you go. Now they're on papers. They're in the system. You have done nothing. You have wasted your time. And on top of that, you missed out on a few years of, tax credits, whatever. Y'all get what I'm saying. You have not helped your children by not getting birth certificates and Social Security cards, because you need them in the system for something. And let's say, okay, now that when they want to get a job, when they want to get a driver's license, they're 15, 16 years old, they don't have any paperwork on them. What you gonna do? If you still operating in the system, if you're still living in the system, if you are not completely sovereign when you have those children, then not getting the birth certificate and the Social Security card does nothing for you or your children. And that's what I was trying to tell my friend. I said, you're going to need one eventually. If you're going to send your children to school, if you're going to do anything for your children that has anything to do with the government, because it's unavoidable if you're not completely self-sustainable. It just is. Let's say you want to go somewhere. Let's say you want to get on a plane somewhere. What you going to do then? You got to be able to get them on the plane. You see what I'm saying? You got to be able to do this. You got to be able to do that. Now, it might be, see, my children are homeschooled, right? My children are homeschooled. And let's say you got to take them to the doctor. You got to take them to the doctor for something. Unless, like I said, unless you're completely sovereign, off the grid, you have some type of physician or someone that's really good in treating people in the medical profession, who has awakened and they are of like mind, and they have the equipment and the know-how to take care of the village. Let's say you have a village of sovereign people. You will have a physician or a doctor there that has the knowledge and the equipment and the care to take care of the people in that village when they get sick, or if they break a leg, or if something happens. If you don't have that, what the you doing? You're not Amish. Is you an Amish tribe, my nigga? No, you were still going to work. You still had to get registration for your car. I mean, come on. Now, fortunately, my wife can be at home and is able to take care of our children and watch our children and teach our children while I'm at work providing, right? But I'm only halfway there. Okay, so they don't need a Social Security card and a birth certificate to learn, to be educated, but they are going through a charter school program that funds their homeschooling, so they can go to this class, they can go to that class, they can take music here, they can take art there, they can get supplies. Can't do that without paperwork. You understand what I'm saying? Otherwise, I'd be coming out the ass with quite a bit more money. See what I'm saying? So I'm only halfway there. But if my child got sick, if I had to take my child to the doctor, he broke his leg, okay, I might be able to take him to an emergency room. But now he's an undocumented child, and now I got CPS breathing down my neck, right? What did that do? You know what I'm saying? What did that do? All I'm saying is, I'm not saying, look, if you don't want to get birth certificates and Social Security cards for your children, you know, more power to you. But, you know, educate yourself on what might happen if you don't have documentation for those children, if the government finds out, or if something like that happens. You know what I mean? And then this is the funny thing. The lady, the chick I was telling you about that had children with this bum ass dude, she had to, like I said, she ended up having to get paperwork on the children, and the dude didn't like it. He was pissed. But I was like, so you should ask him this: what if the children, what if the government decide to come for your children one day, and they know they can snatch your children up because they're undocumented? Are you going to be able to defend them with your life? Are you going to be able to protect your children from the government if they run up in your house? That's the question. And I told her, I said, I guarantee you he's not. He's not. He's not equipped in any form or fashion. Mentally, physically, he's a gas bag. That's what he is. So you have to be careful who you take this type of advice from, who you listen to when they tell you this shit. And the reason I brought up that sovereign land I went to is because if I had went ahead and accepted the responsibility and the honor of taking over that land while they go handle some casino shit, and they were going to provide funds to build on that land in a certain way. They were going to funnel money in from the casino to help that sovereign land grow, to help it become a village. But they just needed somebody there that they trusted that can handle the business. If I'd have stayed there, and if I'd have got with my wife and we'd have had children on that sovereign land, no birth certificate, no Social Security card. If we handled the business properly, if we were able to make that land self-sustainable and provide everything that we needed, you know what I mean? That it would have been great. That would have been the perfect opportunity to have children that were not in the system. And we could have built the village there. But most of these people that I went there with in 2005, see, I was in my infant stages in regards to learning about true freedom and wanting to obtain true freedom after having got out the army, where there was some sort of manipulation going on there, some sort of form of indoctrination, of conforming to the system. So it was in my infantile stages. With the mind that I have now, if I had that opportunity, if I can go back and if I had that opportunity now, I would take it up like a heartbeat, with a heartbeat. But we're not equipped like that. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed what I was talking about. Listen, be careful with this no Social Security card birth certificate shit, because even the idea that they own you with these birth certificates and Social Security cards is novel. It's like, okay, on paper, but at the end of the day, no one owns you. No one truly owns you. I don't care what a piece of paper says. And that's the mentality you have to have. Anyway, much love to you guys. Hit that like button, just share, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section what y'all think about that. Do you think that not getting your children birth certificates and Social Security cards is a benefit, or do you think if you're still living within the system and operating within the system, and then that your children are going to need to operate within the system, do you think that's a good idea or not? Anyway, let me know what you think. I'll let y'all later.